Welcome back. In previous segments, we've given you various bits of wisdom, tips, and techniques on how to be effective in disciple making. In this segment, I want to give you a particular bit of wisdom or a particular bit of advice when you're making disciples that I think a lot of people don't consider nearly as frequently as they ought to. And that is helping people see how they fit in with the bigger picture. When you're having conversation with someone, you're getting to know them and you're asking questions and you're learning about who they are, you're spending time, you're seeing greatness in them. What you're starting to do is begin to see how their particular personality, their particular gifts and talents, and how their particular testimony fits in with the bigger picture of the movement or church or team or organization that they are a part of. And we may assume, or we may be tempted to think that it's not necessary to tell people how they fit. But the reality is, most people, most of us, will not figure it out on our own. Let me give you an example. In the previous segment, I talked about a young lady by the name of Maddie, who was a great disciple maker in our youth ministry. Maddie came to me with a passion to invest in young girls, particularly girls that had grown up in the church that were really nominal in their faith. She felt like that was her particular demographic that she felt uniquely gifted because of her own experience to invest in. She needed to figure out how to do that. When I was mentoring Maddie as a youth pastor to a youth leader, it's my responsibility to be a mentor to her and a pastor to her as well, not just the students, of course. I remember sitting down and having coffee with her one day and just saying, Maddie, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go hang out with girls. I want you to sit with them at whatever restaurant or coffee shop you want to and have them read whatever book you think is ideal, assuming it fits within the orthodoxy that we ascribe to here at our local church. I want you to take this book and take them through this curriculum and go gangbusters, go after it. Love these girls well, disciple them well. And here's how it fits in. We as a youth ministry, we're looking to impact the entire youth. And the reason why we're looking to do that is because we as a church are looking to impact our entire community, right? I'm helping her see the bigger picture that we as a church are impacting a community that's made up of families. And those families have teenagers. And we're looking to impact those teenagers because we're trying to make inroads into entire families because we want to revolutionize the entire community for the gospel. I was helping her see how hanging out at Panera Bread for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 60 minutes or 90 minutes, whatever it is, hanging out with a young adult girl or a teenage girl at Panera Bread fits in with the larger mission. This caused her to feel incredibly excited that she wasn't just doing this random thing on the side, but that her efforts actually folded into the overarching vision of our church family. Now, sometimes people want to do something and they want to kind of run in a direction that's actually counter to what we are trying to accomplish. I remember I had a young man who came to me and said, Kenny, I want to be a volunteer youth leader in the youth group with you on the team. And I really want to teach young men, I won't say the particular thing, but he really wanted to teach young men a particular brand of theology that really is not mainstream within Christianity today. He wanted to overemphasize a particular thing that we thought was actually not helpful. It didn't fit in with the bigger picture. So when I sat down with this young man and had a coffee with him, again at Oxum Coffee in Winter Garden, Florida, I remember saying to him, hey, that sounds well and good, and there may be some places where that would be appropriate, and maybe one day, maybe if you're a seminary professor teaching that brand of theology or teaching seminary students that brand of theology exists out there in the world would be helpful. But the reality is teaching that particular ideology or teaching this particular doctrine in the vast majority of church settings in North America would actually be detrimental. And we actually would prefer you not make an overemphasis on this particular doctrine. And for those of you who are church leaders or pastors, there's no doubt you can make a list of all the different philosophies and all the different trends, all the different things that come up in our society that people in your church want you to emphasize. They'll say, Pastor, I want you to preach more on this or talk more about this. And they'll feel the need to sort of shepherd you to do more of what they think is best. That doesn't mean that we can't sometimes learn from people in those situations. No doubt there are moments when that pops up and we can learn from those people. But in most cases, that list typically are things that are unnecessary, or they divert resources away from our primary vision, or maybe they're either counter or contra the mission that we are actually setting forth. So when you're meeting with someone, you're discipling this person, what you want to do is sit down with them and help them see how they fit with the bigger picture. And you want to help give direction or channel what they're doing to ensure that it is in line with the vision. This may seem somewhat obvious. This may seem like it's unnecessary to say or talk about in an online course like this one. My experience teaches me something else. My experience has taught me that people frequently don't know how their particular brand of discipleship or how their particular task fits in with the larger vision. Frequently, people don't understand the larger vision. Therefore, they don't step up and do that which they ought to do, or they have an idea to do something that, quite frankly, doesn't really help the vision push forward. What you primarily want to do is help people see how they fit in with the movement and then give them instruction on how they can do that better. A big part of discipleship is helping people see the grander vision of what they're a part of and then push them in that direction. Something as simple as helping a young man see why his struggle with lust actually impacts him down the road is greatly helpful in disciple making. If I'm sitting with a young man who is grappling through, let's say, sexual sin or lust or anything in that particular genre of sin, I want him to see how this actually impacts his role in the bigger picture. It's not just about his sin in this moment and how it's impacting him right now. I want him to see how this actually potentially impedes his ability to be an effective church leader down the road, and how that therefore impedes his ability to help our church on a large scale. I want him to see how this potentially impedes his ability to be a great husband and a great father. I want him to see how his choices today impact people down the road and impact the greater mission that he is a part of. If I'm pastoring someone who is wanting to be a pastor one day, if I'm mentoring someone who says they want to be a preacher or a pastor down the road, the choices he makes today will impact whether or not he is an effective pastor in the future. This is really, really important. A quick subtopic here. When we talk about leadership, there are two brands or two categories of leadership that I typically talk about. One is captaining, the other is coaching. The captain is the upfront person. The person is captaining the ship. The person who is saying to the whole, here's where we're going, here's the vision, here's the direction that we are headed in. The coach, on the other hand, is the leader who comes alongside of you, sort of the one-on-one, who can be behind the scenes and say, here's how you fit in the larger mission. The captain is like the football coach who gets in front of the team and say, here's what we're going to do this week when we play against that team. We're going to do this, this, and this. Here's the strategies and the tactics we're going to employ. Here's what I want you to do. And then the coach comes alongside individual player and says, here's how you, individual player, do this particular thing that helps the whole. If I'm a great captain, I need to be able to speak to the whole group and help them all understand the direction we're headed. If I'm going to be a great coach, I need to talk to individual people and help them see how they fit in with the larger vision. I want you to do this, which helps the entire team in this regard. That's ultimately what a great leader needs to be. Now, some of you watching this in your leadership, you may have the propensity to be more of a captain and less of a coach. Some people have the propensity to be more of a coach and less of a captain. But if you're going to be a great leader, obviously you have to have both. You have to be a great captain and a great coach. Sometimes you got to do both at the same time. Sometimes you have to focus more on being a captain and then come back to being a coach later. Sometimes you need to focus on being a great coach and come back to being a captain. But if you're going to be a great leader, if you're going to be an influencer, you have to be both a captain and a coach. There are times where you're speaking to the whole, and there are times you're having meetings one-on-one. And as a part of those meetings, you need to regularly be pointing back to the whole. My boss here at Bethany Global University, David Haas, who's the executive vice president and provost of the college, he frequently does this with me. Frequently on the team that we're a part of, the middle managers and executives of the organization that report to him, he typically meets with us and will say, hey, here's the direction of the whole. Here's where we're headed as an organization. Here are the types of things that we as a college, that we as an organization, we as a ministry will be doing in the months and years to come. And then he sits with me one-on-one and says, Kenny, here's what you're going to be doing. And here are the things you're doing well that I want you to do more of to help you do your job that helps the whole. And here are the things you're doing not so well that I want you to get better at so that you can help the whole. See, in that one-on-one conversation, he's helping me see how my individual inadequacies or individual failures are actually impeding the entire team from accomplishing that which he is calling us to accomplish. If you're going to be a great disciple maker, you have to be a great coach, which is a form of great leadership. You're going to have to come alongside of people and paint the picture of how they fit with the larger vision or movement they are a part of. It could be something on a micro scale, like you being a parent, helping your child see how they fit in with the vision of your family. Or it could be you as the coach of a sports team, helping an individual player on your team see that. Or it could be you mentoring someone in the faith, being a disciple maker, helping them see how they fit in with the larger vision of the church or team or ministry or department that they are a part of. Help people see how their actions map to making a difference. I'll close this segment by telling you about one of my favorite men from American history, and that is Dr. Martin Luther King. No doubt all of you watching this are familiar with Dr. King. He was very famous for getting up and giving these great speeches, these inspirational speeches that would move people and that would cause people to want to jump to action. These incredible speeches, and obviously amongst them the most famous speech, the I Have a Dream speech. Dr. Martin Luther King was fantastic in being the captain of the ship. But in addition to that, he was also a fantastic coach. He was really well known for being the type of guy that would sit with someone one-on-one. He would sit with them eyeball to eyeball and say, okay, here's what you need to do. He would go to a place like Selma, Alabama, and would say, I'm going to give a great speech, but here's what you need to do. On Sunday, do this. On Monday, do this. He would bring small groups in, and he would give them assignments. He would challenge them to do certain things, and he would let them see how their actions would help the whole movement. And then he would get up, and he would give the speeches. He would captain the whole, but all the while, he was being a coach on a small scale, on the micro level, and it helped the entire movement be propelled forward. If we're going to propagate the Christian movement, if we're going to propagate the gospel and push forward the Christian movement to make disciples of all nations, we must be people that are willing to come alongside someone, eyeball to eyeball, and help them see how their choices map to the bigger picture. People will not figure it out for themselves. We need to be people who are committed to seeing greatness in them, help coaching them along the way, mentoring them, helping them to see all that they ought to see, and then help them see how their actions today map to a much grander vision. Paint the picture of the greater vision and help them see how they fit in that bigger picture. If you're not willing to do that, or if incapable of doing that, you're not going to be very effective in disciple making. In the next segment, we're going to talk about some of the assignments that you want to give. As I alluded to a moment ago, we want to give people individual tasks and assignment. We're going to talk about how to do that well.